She made me split the bill on her birthday dinner, then laughed with her friends and said, "It's giving broke energy." I didn't respond, just wiped my mouth, stood up, and left. 2 hours later, she was blowing up my phone. I, 31M, should have seen it coming. Looking back now, the signs were there for months, but when you're in it, you make excuses. You rationalize. You tell yourself it's just her personality, just her sense of humor, just the way she is with her friends. It was her 20th birthday. She'd been planning this dinner for weeks, talking about this upscale Italian place downtown that she'd been wanting to try. The reservation was for 8 people, her, me, and 6 of her closest friends. I wasn't particularly close with any of them, but I'd met them enough times to know the dynamic. They were the type who posted everything on social media, who measured experiences by how impressive they looked online, who treated servers like they were beneath them. The restaurant was exactly what I expected. Low lighting, exposed brick walls, plates that cost as much as a week's worth of groceries. I'd mentally prepared myself to cover her meal. It was her birthday, after all, and despite everything, I still cared about making her happy. What I hadn't prepared for was what actually happened. We ordered appetizers, entrees, drinks. The table was loud with laughter and inside jokes that I wasn't part of. I sat there, smiling when appropriate, contributing when there was an opening, but mostly just observing. She was in her element, holding court, telling stories that painted me in an unflattering light, but passing them off as cute anecdotes. The way I'd burned breakfast last week. How I didn't know the difference between 2 designer brands. Small things that accumulated into a larger portrait of inadequacy. When the bill came, the server placed it in the middle of the table. Everyone reached for their cards except her. She looked at me expectantly, that smile still on her face, and told me we should split it. Not just her portion and mine. The entire bill. $473. For 8 people. I felt my face get hot. Around the table, her friends had gone quiet, watching this play out like it was entertainment. I asked her if she was serious. She laughed and said of course she was serious, that it was 2024 and splitting bills was normal, that she wasn't some gold digger expecting me to pay for everything. The table erupted in agreement. One of her friends chimed in about equality and modern relationships. I did the math in my head. My portion of the bill would have been maybe $60. She was asking me to cover $236.50. I worked in IT support. My salary was decent but not extravagant. I had student loans. I had rent. I had a car payment. This wasn't pocket change to me, and she knew it. But I pulled out my card. The alternative was making a scene at her birthday dinner, and I wasn't going to be that person. We both paid, and I watched that transaction go through, feeling something shift in my chest. Something final. That's when she turned to her friends, still smiling, still riding the high of the evening, and made the comment. She said it was giving broke energy. Her exact words. The table laughed. Not uncomfortable laughs, but genuine amusement. One of her friends added something about how I should have just offered to pay the whole thing if I wanted to be a real man about it. I didn't respond. I picked up my napkin, wiped my mouth slowly, folded it, and placed it on the table. Then I stood up. She looked at me, confused, asking where I was going. I told her I was leaving. She tried to laugh it off, saying I was being dramatic, that it was just a joke. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I just walked out of that restaurant and got in my car. The drive home was quiet. My phone started buzzing before I even made it to the highway. Texts from her. Calls. I ignored all of them. By the time I got to my apartment, I had 23 notifications from her. I turned my phone off and sat in the silence of my living room. 2 hours after I left the restaurant, I turned my phone back on. 57 messages. 12 missed calls. The texts had evolved from confused to angry to apologetic to panicked. She was asking where I went, why I was being like this, saying she was sorry if she hurt my feelings, but I was overreacting, that her friends were asking questions and I'd embarrassed her by leaving, that she needed me to come back, or at least answer her. I didn't respond that night. I went to bed and slept better than I had in months. The next morning, I woke up to more messages. She'd apparently been up until 3 in the morning texting me. The tone had shifted again. Now she was angry. I was immature. I was petty. I was making her birthday about me. Her friends thought I was controlling for storming out like that. On and on. I made coffee and sat down to really think about the relationship. Not the version I'd been telling myself, but the reality. The truth was, this wasn't the first time something like this had happened. 3 months ago, we'd gone out with her coworkers, and she'd asked me to cover drinks for the table because she'd forgotten her wallet. She hadn't forgotten it. It was in her purse. I'd seen it later that night. 6 weeks ago, she'd asked to borrow money for her car payment, then posted photos the next day of a shopping haul. Small things. Death by 1,000 cuts. But it wasn't just the money. It was the way she talked to me in front of others. The way she dismissed my interests as boring when her friends were around. The way she'd cancel plans with me last minute if something better came up, but expected me to be available whenever she needed something. The way she made me feel like I was lucky to be with her, like I should be grateful for whatever scraps of affection she threw my way. I texted her that afternoon. I kept it simple. I told her we were done, that I wasn't interested in being with someone who disrespected me publicly and treated me like an ATM, that I hoped she had a good rest of her birthday weekend, but I wouldn't be part of it anymore. My phone rang immediately. I declined the call. She texted back in all caps, saying I couldn't break up with her over text, that I owed her a conversation. I told her I didn't owe her anything, especially after last night. She called again. I blocked her number. That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. Update 1. It's been 3 days since the birthday dinner. I've kept her blocked, but apparently she's been talking to people. Mutual friends started reaching out, asking what happened, saying she was devastated, that maybe I should hear her out. I gave them the short version. Most of them went quiet after that. A few tried to play both sides, suggesting that maybe she didn't mean it the way it sounded, that her sense of humor was just like that. I asked one of them if they'd find it funny if someone made them pay for half of a birthday dinner they weren't even celebrating, then mocked them for it in front of everyone. They didn't have a good answer for that. Yesterday, she showed up at my apartment. I have a doorbell camera, so I saw her before she knocked. She looked terrible. No makeup, hair in a messy bun, eyes red. Part of me felt bad. The larger part remembered sitting at that table, feeling humiliated while everyone laughed. I didn't open the door. She knocked for 5 minutes. Then she started talking through the door. She was sorry. She knew she messed up. She was stressed about money and took it out on me in the worst way. Her friends were bad influences, and she was just trying to fit in with their sense of humor. She missed me. She loved me. All the things people say when they realize they've lost something. I stayed on my couch and waited for her to leave. Eventually, she did. My phone was still blowing up, though. She'd made a burner account to get around the block. The messages were getting more desperate. She was offering to pay me back for the dinner. She wanted to make it right. She'd do anything. I didn't respond to any of it. What was there to say? Sorry doesn't unring a bell. Money doesn't erase disrespect. But then things took a turn. Last night, one of her friends posted a story on social media. I don't follow any of them, but a coworker sent me a screenshot. The post was about toxic masculinity and fragile male egos, about how some men can't handle a strong, independent woman, about how walking out during a disagreement was a red flag for abuse. They didn't name me, but anyone who knew us would know who they were talking about. The comments were predictable. Lots of agreement. Lots of people I'd never met calling me names, making assumptions about my character based on one side of a story. A few people who actually knew me pushed back, but they were drowned out. I felt my anger rising. Not because I cared what strangers on the internet thought, but because she was letting this happen. She was letting her friends paint me as some kind of villain when she knew the truth. When she'd been the one texting me apologies for days. I decided it was time to stop being silent. Update 2. I didn't respond directly to the social media post. I'm not interested in airing relationship drama publicly, but I did reach out to a few of the mutual friends who had been asking questions. The ones who seemed genuinely confused about what happened. I told them the full story. Not just the dinner, but everything. The pattern of behavior. The financial manipulation. The public disrespect. Word travels fast. By this afternoon, the narrative had shifted. People were starting to ask her questions. Why did she make him split the entire bill? Why would she mock him in front of her friends? The support she'd been getting started to dry up. She called me from a different number. I answered this time. She was crying, asking me why I was trying to ruin her life, why I was turning people against her. I told her I wasn't doing anything except telling the truth. She said that wasn't fair, that I was making her look bad. I almost laughed. I told her she'd made herself look bad. I was just no longer covering for her. She tried a different approach then. She said we could work through this. She'd go to therapy. She'd change. She'd be better. Her voice was shaking, desperate. I told her that even if she meant all of that, I didn't want to be in a relationship where someone needed to fundamentally change their behavior for me to feel respected. That should be baseline. She started crying harder. I didn't hang up on her, but I didn't comfort her either. I let her cry for a minute, then told her I needed to go. She asked if there was anything she could say that would change my mind. I told her no. She asked if I ever really loved her. I told her I did, but love isn't enough when respect isn't there. Then I ended the call. Today at work, my boss pulled me aside. Apparently, she'd called the office trying to reach me. The receptionist had told her I was unavailable and she'd gotten hostile, accusing them of conspiring with me. My boss wanted to make sure everything was okay, that I wasn't in any danger. I assured him it was just a bad breakup and gave him permission to block her number from the office line if she called again. This evening, I got a message from her mother. We'd met a few times over the past year. She was always kind to me, and her message reflected that. She apologized for her daughter's behavior, said she'd raised her better than that, and understood why I'd made my decision. She asked if I'd be willing to take a phone call from her sometime, not to discuss reconciliation, but just to talk. I appreciated the gesture and told her I'd think about it. Tonight, I'm sitting here realizing that I feel lighter than I have in a long time. The constant anxiety about saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing, not being enough, it's gone. I didn't realize how heavy it all was until I put it down. Update 3. It's been 2 weeks now. The messages have finally stopped. She's blocked me on everything, which is ironic considering I blocked her first, but whatever helps her feel like she has some control over the situation. I talked to her mother. It was a good conversation. She didn't make excuses for her daughter, but she did provide some context. Apparently, her friend group had always been toxic, and she'd fallen into patterns of behavior trying to keep up with them. Her mother had noticed it too, had tried to talk to her about it, but you can't make someone see what they don't want to see. She thanked me for being good to her daughter, even if it didn't work out, and said she hoped I'd find someone who appreciated that. It meant more than she probably knew. I ran into one of her friends at the grocery store yesterday, the one who'd made the comment about being a real man. She tried to walk past me without acknowledgement, but I stopped her. I asked her why she thought it was okay to mock someone for having financial boundaries. She got defensive, said it wasn't that deep, that I was still hung up on it. I told her that respect doesn't have an expiration date, and neither does memory. She called me bitter and walked away. I let her. My coworker asked me the other day if I had any regrets about how I handled it. I thought about it for a while before answering. The truth is, I don't. Could I have stayed and fought at the restaurant? Sure. Could I have made a scene and explained to everyone why what she said was hurtful? Maybe. But I'd spent a year trying to make someone see my worth. I wasn't going to spend one more minute of my life doing that. Walking away was the most self-respecting thing I could have done. Last night, I went out with some friends I'd been neglecting during the relationship. We went to a bar, nothing fancy, and just talked. About work, about hobbies, about stupid movies we'd seen. Normal stuff. At one point, someone made a joke at my expense and I laughed. Actually laughed. Because it was funny, and it was from a place of affection, not cruelty. That's when I realized the difference. I'm not looking to date anyone right now. I think I need time to remember who I am outside of a relationship where I constantly felt like I was failing. But I'm okay with that. More than okay, actually. Someone asked me if I thought she learned anything from this. Honestly, I don't know and I don't care. That's her journey, not mine. Maybe she'll reflect and grow. Maybe she'll blame me forever and never take accountability. Either way, it's not my problem anymore. I paid $236.50 for the clearest lesson I've ever received. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. I just wish I'd believed it sooner. But I believe it now. And that's what matters. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.